Have you ever heard of a farmer's last harvest? It's a story that few people know, but it carries one of the greatest life lessons anyone can learn. A story about hope, about faith, and about what truly matters when everything seems lost. In a small village, surrounded by golden wheat fields dancing in the wind, lived an old farmer named Antonio. He wasn't a wealthy man, but he possessed something far more valuable, an unshakable heart, and a faith that not even the worst storms could break. From a young age, he learned to farm from his father. The smell of wet soil, the sound of leaves rustling in the wind, and the satisfaction of seeing a plentiful harvest were all he needed to be happy. But, as life always likes to test those who believe in God, a challenge arose. That year was different. The sun became a ruthless enemy. The scorching heat punished the crops, and the ground cracked under the feet of those who tried to cultivate it. The rain, which had always come as a gift from the heavens, simply disappeared. The rivers dried up. Animals wandered aimlessly in their weakness, and the once lush fields turned into a sea of dust. Antonio's neighbors were desperate. The younger ones were already thinking about leaving for the cities, abandoning farm life in search of a different future. Others, older and more experienced, simply sighed, for they had seen hard times before, but never like this. "This year is lost, Antonio. There's nothing more to be done," said Wow, his childhood friend, kicking the dry earth with the tip of his boot. Antonio, however, looked toward the horizon and calmly replied, "I still have seeds." Joao laughed in disbelief. "Seeds don't grow without rain, Antonio." The farmer smiled, bent down, and picked up a handful of soil in his hands. He rubbed his fingers together slowly, feeling its texture. "That's true, my friend, but one thing I've learned in life, everything has its time. And if the earth still exists, then so does hope." While others abandoned their land or sold their properties for whatever they could get, Antonio did something no one expected. He kept working. Every day before the sun rose, he was in the field, preparing the soil. Even when it seemed pointless, he persisted. He watered what he could with the little water left in his well. He protected the fragile seedlings from the scorching sun with dry leaves to prevent them from burning. And most importantly, he spoke to his crops. Yes, he spoke. Some people mocked him, saying Antonio had gone mad, but he didn't care. "The earth feels, my friend," he would say to those who asked, "and I believe it listens." And then something began to happen. The tiny seedlings he had planted, which everyone thought would die, began to survive. While the fields around him were nothing but barren land, small green sprouts started to emerge in Antonio's plot. It was as if his faith was making those plants grow against all odds. But the challenges weren't over yet. One day, while plowing the field, Antonio felt dizzy. His vision blurred, and his hands trembled. He fell to his knees on the dry ground, feeling weakness take over his body. "Antonio!" his wife cried, running toward him. She helped him up, and he realized he had spent entire days without eating properly, without resting, putting all his strength into the land. "You need to stop, Antonio," she said, her eyes filled with worry. He held her hands and smiled. "If I stop now, all this struggle will have been in vain. But if I keep going, maybe the earth will reward me." So, even exhausted, he persisted. And that's when the unexpected happened. One afternoon, after weeks without a single cloud in the sky, a different wind blew through the village. It carried a familiar scent, a scent Antonio immediately recognized, the scent of rain. The neighbors came out of their homes, looking towards the horizon. Dark clouds approached, heavy, announcing what everyone had been waiting for. The first thunder rumbled in the distance, and soon, the first drops began to fall. Antonio, with his eyes closed, felt the rain touch his face. It was as if the earth itself was thanking him. The rain poured down for days, and when it finally stopped, Antonio's field was ready. His seedlings, once small and fragile, were alive. And while many had lost everything by giving up too soon, Antonio harvested enough not only to sustain his family, but also to help those who had lost hope. His story spread throughout the village. He became a living legend, an example that perseverance can transform even the harshest reality. And the lesson he left behind was simple. Difficulties will always come, storms will arrive, but those who have patience, who keep working even when everything seems lost, are the ones who reap the rewards in the end. So if you are going through a tough time, if everything seems impossible, remember the story of Farmer Antonio. The rains always return, the seeds always sprout, and life always finds a way to start again. Never lose hope. If this story touched you in any way, share it with someone who needs to hear this message today. Because sometimes, all we need is a reminder that faith and persistence are the greatest forces that exist. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.